loyalty described as, do you care? And I care, and that's why I'm on this show. Comes a time, here we go.
I'm a sucker for Oteil, man. I saw that same feeling that I have, that would he filled a void that I didn't even know existed.
It feels so good to, as Ben said, to try to do something about an issue as opposed to complaining.
If you can't help, don't hurt.
If we could just all get out there and throw cream puffs at each other, maybe things, instead of bullets and angry words, it would be better.
When you stop laughing, you stop living.
There's a worldwide surge in interest in mushrooms.
It was deep, man.
It's not that TM makes your mind quiet down there. It already is. We're just stuck up here. We've lost access.
Jumpin' Jack Flash came out by the Stones. So I thought, all right, perfect, man. I'm gonna drive. And I started driving through the neighborhood, and I got a text from Mick Jagger.
People saying that, what we do is non-essential. Well, playing those few gigs that you saw me at felt pretty essential to me.
It wasn't like they were clapping from here. It was they were clapping from here.
My view of things is that death is the last and best reward for a life well lived.
Like it's the strangest of places if you look at it right,
If you're liking what you're hearing, head on over to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get your bus pass for an extra episode every week.
Welcome back to another episode of Comes a Time. That is Oteil.
And that, I'm guessing, is Mike. I'll cover all
You're
the
bases. You're on top right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Eric is over here, even though he's not on screen. That's what I have going on.
Yeah, well, Pete was... Yeah, these blocks shift. But they're going to move. So everyone's like, what the hell do they keep pointing for? Because Eric fixes it all at the end.
Brady Bunch. We love the Brady Bunch.
Yes. Ann B. Davis. She would look up.
That's right. Hey, Mike.
Hi, Oteil. wait. Hang on. Here's where I could do... Hi, Oteil.
I asked Mike if he could, his chair has this thing where you could just let it out.
Here's the
all
story.
Of a sudden, and I was like, will you just let it go down? Just not when you're just randomly see who notices.
Walk us through what it was like to have Brooklyn Bowl. Speaking of, so who'd we have? We had the great Pete Shapiro on today.
Yes, promoter extraordinaire. 25-year friend, God, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Wow. Started the Wetlands. He has a new book out, The Music Never Stops. What putting on 10,000 shows has taught me about life, liberty, and the pursuit of magic. How could I love that title anymore? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of magic.
The pursuit of magic is what it is, though. I mean, he's got the. I mean, it's a lot of work. I envy him, and I also don't, because that's a lot of. Look, the hospitality business and that whole part of it, the I dotting and T crossing and ordering kegs and holy shit, I don't want anything to do with that. But man, just the moments that he's facilitated for us, both on either side of the stage, to enjoy and to relish in and to, I mean, really, it's just...
It's good for everybody.
It really is. And you know what's funny, man? And I wanted to, you think of something to say when we're doing these podcasts, and it's like you forget because it just goes... I wanted to say about, and if he's listening... The contagious energy, I think, that flows through the venues because the staff is happy. Mm-hmm. That the difference in even doing stand up at a club where the staff is happy versus not, it translates.
I could tell if the owner is an asshole or not.
Amen. Yes, and you could tell.
Reverse. I'm like, this owner is a really good person.
Yep.
Guy or girl.
And you could tell that before you even meet the owner.
Every single person that works there has got that heart vibe. You're like, all right.
Dude, from the person who meets you when you go under the awning at the Cap to, the bar crew at Garcia's, to the security guy, to the person in coat check, to, you name it. Everyone's like...
He cares.
6 inches off the ground. They're just kind of, and you could tell they all are happy to be there and they care. And that comes from The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, man. You know, so
everything flows from the top of the mountain. Whatever's at top, that water's going to be like that at the bottom.
And if you go to a venue where everybody's stiff and angry, it's gonna take a couple more songs for you to kind of loosen up and chill out. You know, you walk into the Cap, it's like you're home somehow.
Well, he was able to keep that fan perspective. Like he walks into his own venue, his own show as a fan.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And so every little thing that sucks that he was at another show, I was like, well, this really sucks. I'm going to make sure I don't do that at my show.
Yep.
You know, you just got to be a fan. And
right.
he's maintained that, not letting the business side just suck his soul till it was dry. Like he's kept it, and God knows he's been through it.
Yeah.
On the business side, like, you know, you don't get out without your scars in any business. It's
especially
music,
this one.
Business, and this part is war. You're gonna get maimed. You may get killed. You're definitely gonna have your scars. And he's just from that first show that he saw that he had that mystical magic experience that made his life just take a left. And he just kept chasing that magic.
Yep.
Like it says in the title. It's really cool.
Really
it's
is.
A super fun conversation that flew by.
Flew by.
For me. Yeah, I know for you too. Like
this is that it's wild. And it's just, you know, you think about Dead 50 alone. That could be its own 10-part talk. You know what I mean?
Wetlands alone.
Oh Jesus.
All right?
Wetlands deserves its own
go
podcast. Yeah. I mean, seriously, that's just the Cap. Monumental steps.
Brooklyn Bowl.
Brooklyn Bowl.
Or Bowls, you know.
The Vegas one is, Nashville. I mean, God, it's just.
Yeah, so many cool experiences. So you guys will enjoy this one.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete, for everything.
Whether you know this genre of music or not, there's a lot of beautiful life stuff in here.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Really
yes,
cool.
very true. From moment one. And thank you again. And thank you guys for listening. And we're here on Osiris, home to so many great podcasts. You can go to osirispod.com to learn more. Also, if you like what I just seen if you were paying attention.
I wish I could do it.
What I wanted to try to do was I'm trying to loosen the microphone so I could
go
like
the mic
lift this
go down
up.
too.
This could go up and I could go down at the same time. So like.
I'll have the mic go the opposite. Yeah. For you only listening to audio, yeah.
Yeah, we're just having fun.
Mike has a chair thing that can go down and up.
It's the little things, folks. This is what you do on Zoom.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you. And come join us at patreon.com/Comes a Time Pod for many more chair tricks like that. So thank you, everybody.
That's
Peace.
For Pete. I'm leaning into everything. We have a new motto, which is 6 months.
6 months to live.
So if I only had 6 months to live, what would I do, right?
All right, you wrote me that the other day. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, so it's
By
like.
the way, that's good because life's hard. I won't get into it maybe on this, but man, sometimes you wake up. I wake up just. It's hard, and so maybe actually the 6 month thing is a good way to go. But we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that though, because. Well, we're already kind of going.
We started.
Oh, this is it. Oh, that's a great start then.
We do intros later just so we can start. But it's funny you say that because I always think of you as like the most resilient person on earth. You and Derek Featherstone. But even you two guys, even though you're clearly wired for the crazy and curveballs, you're still human. Like everybody has limits, you know.
Well, part of that is I've just been through so much.
Yeah.
And I've had so many of these. A lot of what I do is dealing with just the problems. You know, when it's easy, it's easy.
Right.
You know, when it's going right, you don't have to fix those things. What gets to me is usually things that are going wrong, or I spot things that are going wrong. And that's how you're good at what I do, is fixing the things that are not right to make sure it's all right. You know, and I actually have become a big believer just from doing so many shows that everything matters. also, just in terms of your experience at the show. It's funny we're doing this with you guys, and Oteil, you're on stage, during the show, but the people who are coming, like, they have a lot of points during the experience, just like your jam does. Like, you show up at getting to the venue.
Yes.
It starts there, right? Or just coordinating the tickets, the friend, like one
Toilets.
cool thing of the fair. Well, that's when you're in the venue. Like, I'm still outside. I'm still outside, bro. Getting the ticket, like, and how you get in and the line, the experience being greeted at the front or not, the box office,
proximity to food.
Well, that's again, even when you're in, but what if you have a problem? Like, if you're waiting online to get in and the security to get in, I'm talking about the difference between being wanded, a hand search, and now these new machines we've leaned into that are like, you just walk through it.
Like an airport.
That's a better experience. You were even better than the airport, the Evolve. The airport, you have to take things out of your pocket. You got to take your wallet out, your phone out, anything else, your vaporizer, anything. You got to put it in the thing.
Yeah.
But now we're using machines at the Capitol or at the Brooklyn Bowls, all of them, where you just walk through and you keep that stuff in your pocket. Like, that's better experience.
Hell yeah, it is.
And that matters. So then you come in, and then it's like, right, then it's bathrooms, the bar line before the show started. Then it's sound, lights, crowd, sight line, all these things. And if one of those things breaks off, it doesn't go right, that can throw you off. The whole experience gets thrown off. And so we try to focus on making all those parts right. And so I just see it easily because I've been, like Oteil knew, I've grown up in it. So I see it.
And inherently, were you paying attention to this before your role? Like, when you were a ticket holder, or if you were at a concert way back, before you started working in the industry, did you notice that type of stuff? Like, just as a fan, like, would you look at a room and go like, I like this room because of A, B, and C, or I don't like this room because of X, Y, and Z, Did you pay attention to that stuff? Was that just
Yeah, good question. I took over Wetlands at 23. I'm 49, about 25. So I've been doing it every night for like 26, 27 years. That's my marker. From that point on, yes, I paid attention. But that point previously, when I went to shows when I was in high school or college, no, I was just going. Yeah. I was an accidental person to be sitting here with you guys. I had a moment where I just went to a particular, grateful. It sounds like a trite, like a movie, I went to a Dead show and my life changed. But my story is that I went to a Dead show and my life changed. In March of '93, Rosemont Horizon, Ken Nordine spoken word. I was a Northwestern film student. I never saw that. I'd seen one Dead show in '92. I went and I was more into like Jane's Addiction in high school and that world, and Lollapalooza. Not even a music head, more of a video head. Went to film school, but started listening a little to the Dead and went to this show. They're doing spoken word with Ken Nordine and the effects. I think it was Dan Healy then, not our friend Derek Featherstone, but warm talk, and I left the show. I swear. I don't know if you know this, Oteil. I don't know without the phone how I just managed to be out in the parking lot the next thing I knew. Before the show. It was just heavy for me. I swear. Yeah. It was heavy.
And, you had a mystical experience.
Yes. and it was snowing outside. And I walked down, I was in the parking lot, and there was drum circles, and these kids were not going back to Northwestern. They were on the bus. They were literally, the school buses, and I just never seen anything like that. I grew up, upper middle class kid, New York City, private school. Like, I had never seen that, and I still never seen that today. I had a normal, and no, that's not even around. Even you get a sense that's why with the Fairly Well going to size and what Deadco now does, playing bigger shows, Shoreline, parking lot, walking up to that's part of the experience. At Alpine and Deer Creek, some of these places in the camp, that whole thing. I went that night. I went back to college. I don't know how I got back, pre-cell phone, found my friends. And we talk about doors, right? Where you want to be first in line to run to the rail. on the GA shows.
Right.
8 a.m. People are there at 10 a.m. for certain shows. I was at doors of the library to research that next morning after the Rosemont Horizon show. Like, whoa, what has been done? What is this? Like, what deal? No, I'm serious. And I went on the road 6 weeks later, 8 weeks later in a van with a video camera. It was 1993. We could have a video. It was really big, the camera. I got a kid who was a film student with me who owns a camera. We rented a van. We went on summer tour to kind of capture this spirit. This is almost 30 years ago, almost 29. First of all, we rented an all-white van, a Econoline Ford with no windows. And we learned pretty quickly, this is how you learn life, just like going through it. Well, I learned that when you show up at, Auburn Hills, Grateful Dead summer tour opener, and you pull into the parking lot to make your documentary, it's probably not a great idea to be in an all-white van with no windows. They were like, DEA, and I'm like, keep driving, And
we just want to film you. Come back.
Yeah. And then I make this film. By the way, the band wouldn't participate. There's no interviews with the band in my film. It's called The Miles to Go. It's on YouTube. But I got Kesey and Leary and the kids, and I went to 8 cities, and Larry Black, who owned Wetlands, saw the film. And that led me directly. Then I did Wetlands, and that led to the Bowl and the Capitol, and everything that is for me, I believe, like a path from that parking lot and road to clear. If I don't have that experience, they don't do spoken word that night. I think I just watched the show and go back to Northwestern. I wasn't planning. I had no. The long answer to your question is, pre me taking over Wetlands, I had no plan to be a concert promoter. Never.
And this is the theme that I love, because in '93, I was with the Colonel, right? Which, by the way, talk about this whole 30-year thing, as Matt Mundy just played with Jimmy Herring the first time since '93, right? It's just no plan. You're like I texted you. I was like, you're as much of a jazz musician as Herbie Hancock. You had a mystical experience and you went, boom. Like when I met the Colonel, I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to go left with this and just do this all the way. And we both ended up here.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
We the other day, we were with Phil Lesh, and it was his 79th birthday, and he plays a lot at the Capitol. And we're like, we should figure out he's coming back again, how many shows he's done, and it was his 79th birthday was on his 79th show at the Capitol Theater, and his birthday was at the Capitol. I'm just saying that's the OT, that's the Grateful Dead, and and you have to believe in that. It's there because that's what we're all chasing. Or about, is moments like that.
Yeah. And the thing that's so amazing is that one spoken word moment sent you on a path that has provided so many pivotal moments to so many people throughout the course of who has seen a show at one of the venues that it's changed their life, and maybe they walked out and now they're on their path to their thing, and it's
and
the
Grateful
music
Dead 50.
It just provides everybody with this
well, if you really want to get a little heavy, so the Dead created this kid right from that moment. I was and then I go to Wetlands, I go do On This Path. Then I go to the Bowl, I do the Capitol. I have this relationship with each of the guys because Bobby Weir came in and did the 10th anniversary of Wetlands. Mickey I met through that, Phil and the Capitol. And so they create this person who then becomes uniquely suited to put Dead 50 together, which was because I had the relationship with Phil particularly, that helped. When Fairly Well, the Dead 50 time came, and it was like, how do we put these guys back together? I was in a unique place because I owned the Capitol Theater and had this relationship where Phil was coming to play. Otherwise, it's hard sometimes to reach. But if you can't get someone to do something, if you can't reach them, how do you do the Dead 50 if we can't reach? But if the artist has to come play your venue. And that was actually, I didn't plan when I did this huge thing with Phil at the Cat. It just felt right. But there was no, it'll be helpful when I'm trying to do Dead 50, And without wetlands, there's no wetlands without that Rosemont Horizon. I'm serious, because it leads to the movie, leads to wetlands, leads to the Capitol, leads to Dead 50. And well, here's a good moment. When we did Dead 50, we at the set breaks, we were like, we got to do something cool, and I brought Justin Kreutzmann on board, like with the films and the visuals, and we asked Neil Casal to do the music, and that's where Circles Around the Sun's first music. We play that because we're putting together the imagery that'll go along at set break with the Circles Around the Sun music, and I tell Justin that I made this film in '93 on the summer tour. The band's not in it, but I have a lot of like parking lot stuff from the outside. I never could get inside. It's all outside. And Justin's like, well, wait, and this is the great filmmaker, son of Bill Kreutzmann, who's a similar age, maybe a couple years older. He's like, wait, summer '93, I was way into video too, and I had a video camera. And but I never went outside in the lot. I just hung out backstage. With Jared, I don't blame him, And I'm like, wait a minute, were you at Deer Creek? We were at the same show. Pete Shapiro, this is a true story. Pete Shapiro, I was outside. There are these two little video kids. Kreutzmann, Justin is inside. And so when we were showing Circles Around the Sun, that was the audio, Soldier Field, set break, those huge screens, we were running visuals that were sort of going back and forth between my footage outside, Justin's inside, same show, particularly Deer Creek, summer '93. So isn't that cool? We were then shooting, we didn't know it, but we were prepping the filming for the video that would be used at that.
How many years later? Wow.
And see, that's the mystical thing. I hate to hijack. I want to talk about the book. Well, the book is all about the mystical thing too. But I really want to highlight this because do you have this sense? Well, I'm pretty sure you do because you know about Ingo Swann and all this stuff.
Yep.
Like you said, if I hadn't done this and this wouldn't have done that. And, when I look back on things to how I got here, like if you start there and you get to here, it seems beyond impossible. But when you look back on every little thing, it seems like totally orchestrated.
It's really amazing.
That's how it feels to me. I'm like, because
I'm there with you. I mean, I don't know if people, it's sliding doors a little bit. That phrase, I don't know if you know it, which is the doors of the train. And you either get on, you make the train, or you don't make the train.
And it all...
And it all goes from there. I mean, there's a movie that is, one part of the movie is if the person makes the train, and the other part is if you don't make the train.
Wow.
How your life goes. There's two different stories. And that happens to each of us probably every day, And I've actually tried when there's forks in the road at like difficult moments. When Relics, I had the opportunity to take over Relics. It was 2008, 2009. Like the world was falling apart then. And magazines were closing and but I had this amazing, unique opportunity to take over and I leaned into it, even though people are like, what are you doing? You don't know. Taking over wetlands. I was 23. People are like, what are you doing? I didn't know how to run a lot, but that's, you just like the whole, the Capitol Theater, had been closed for a long time. It's like when it's amazing now to look back, but it's Portchester, New York. It's been closed. I've just chosen to lean into, some of those, which route do you take? The sliding door, when I can control it, it's a little risk, I try to just lean into like, you know what? I should be this. I also love things that are like there's two different ways to do a venue. One, or anything, is taking over an existing thing and trying to lift that. Wetlands was an existing thing. Larry Block had created it, but he was done and wanted to, taking the baton of something. Relics, the Capitol Theater is a certain path. And then a different path is creating something new. Like the Brooklyn Bowl stuff, or creating Lock-In, from zero, nothing. O'Teal's band, I do these kids show, the Rock and Roll Playhouse. Those are things that I've created and done from nothing, or a film project, and then sometimes I'm taking some amazing place. I just took over in New York, and I can't wait, Oteil, for you to see it. But I took over the Jazz Standard space, which is a great, on 27, great jazz club in New York. And we've given its own name, Jazzlands, like wetlands. And I'm going to have a jazz club, by the way, for you, buddy.
So cool, man.
So we're playing,
me and Tom Guarna can come in there and play.
Yeah, I got a jazz club for you.
Nice.
And that'll be different, right? So a part of it for me is and there's no big plan. I've never had like, I want to end up with it. Like Oteil said, I just feel it out. Listen, Fare Thee Well was kind of supposed to be an ending. And it became a new beginning. It did. It created what Oteil's did.
It really was.
See, so in anything, you don't really know. And so much changes so fast, and opportunities come, and you just kind of like, you do your best to hold on and make the best decision.
Well, even think about like J-Rad, which was born out of the bowl, and it was just supposed to be like, and look at the life that took on, and it's just become its own thing, and that was born out of the bowl, and it was just supposed to be a quick, fun thing, and it's one of the greatest things going, So that's contagious. It's like
Joe, that's a credit to the band, right? They won that. That was and you never know when you just try something where it'll go. I'm sure when Oteil got the first call, getting maybe that's a year, maybe it'll go on, and life it's hard.
Dude, when I got the call for the Allman Brothers, I thought I was like, oh, this stuff's melting down. Let's just get a good summer out of it. I'm gonna make some bread for a summer. 17 years later, it's like, and that to me is also like, helping continue someone else's thing, like taking a baton.
Yeah.
By the way, you've done that. Hold on, you've done that really well musically. Look what you've done. But you have different elements. You're doing some of that, continuing the baton, and then you've got sometimes you do the Oteil baton, your own thing.
Yeah.
And
do some new stuff.
So kind of there's great feeling to lifting or being a part of the baton and keeping that going, and then there's a great other feeling that is creating new music. And life is a little bit of, that's a great balance we're each able to have, but I'm not, I didn't create the Capitol Theater, but I've tried to take it and lift it. And I try to make sure that all parts of that pie of your experience at the Cap, it's frustrating when you're like not at a show, but responsible for it. And things go wrong and you hear about it from someone who's at the show or even if you're at. And so I'm responsible. That's where that tagline on the book is. We figured out doing the book that I had put on 10,000 shows. And like, I haven't been to every one of those. Oh yeah. I've done 10,000.
So you're a master.
At every single one, but if something went wrong at any of those 10,000, I get the phone call. So that kind of like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Something goes wrong. Yeah.
So thinking about that,
because you give a crap,
Right.
Right. So if I get the call from someone, a friend of mine's like, I was in Vegas, or I was in Nashville, and this went wrong in my experience, right, at the box office, at the bathroom, or just being the show, or the air. Well, it's that, and I say sorry, but I wasn't even maybe there, but I'm responsible for it. It's my team. And so that's just a whole way of living where if you're neurotic like I am, and I think probably we all are about our individual things, Oteil about his playing, you want it all to be right.
Well,
I'm starting to think maybe we need to be neurotic a little bit. I have a friend, Brian Spicer, he's a sound man with Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Sure.
He says, I'm just OCD enough for it to be useful.
Yeah.
And I think, like, if we're not neurotic, we're not, like, my music is not, like, what it is.
And a little ADD, too.
ADHD. A lot. For me, and for improv, ADD is good. It's like, oh, this is cool. What about this,
Yeah, let it go. Leave it. Yeah.
Like, I have this thing where people want me to hold a groove down for a long time. Get in that groove. And I love funk. I love a groove. But, man, my mind is ADDing. So I just let it go. I'm like, okay, I did that for 32 bars. Let me switch it to this. I'll hold it, and then I switch and let my ADD build this. It's like, let's use these things that are bad. It's like, are they really? Only if, or maybe if they just get too unbalanced and out of hand.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a tool, you know, and if you can play it, it's an instrument, you know, the ADHD.
Yes.
If you can figure out a life that leverage, you know, like what you have with your instrument and a bit, I'm playing an instrument, doing what I do. There's no question that I've been able to do what I do with so many different kind of businesses because my brain goes there naturally all over the place.
Have you found that in that whole passing the baton, you know, theme, have you found like younger or like entrepreneurial folks like coming to you kind of from a starting a business or running a venue standpoint, like asking you for advice or like a mentorship in any way?
Yeah. I definitely, well, two things. One, I stepped into a unique, luckily I spotted it. Okay. Part of the sliding doors life is also like knowing when to get on the train, the door on the left. Yeah. Or not. I didn't into that wetlands thing. You know, that doesn't come around a lot. I would say that you can put on a lot of what it takes to do fairly well is also true at a show with 100 people. Whether it's 100, 1,000, 10,000, 50,000, you have to book a venue or you have to book a band, you know, and then put the show on sale and announce the show and market the show and then do the show, you know, with the box office and the venue and the experience for the customer being positive, like we talked about, all the parts. And that's true at 100 or 50,000. They're both true. So anyone out there who's in college, I did my first one at Evanston Street Block Party. You know, it's a great time to start, you know, in college, whether you're in Lawrence, Kansas or Boston or any city, Gainesville, I think you can get a lot of value out of just renting a local bar, having your local friend, you know, cover band or band play. And because the way to really learn how to do it is by doing it.
Right.
The way to really learn to be a great musician is by playing.
Yeah.
You know,
comedy.
Just get up and bomb until you learn how to be funny. That's basically
it's
what I did.
Reps, right? Isn't it like doing it? And now I can feel it. It's part of my instincts. Like when I go into it, just because I've done it a lot. And I think people can go, by the way, pay attention when you're at the show, like we talked about, things you see that you like, that you don't like. Little things will matter. Like it fairly well. One of the best things we did was to put the security staff at Soldier Field in tie-dyed shirts. They still had the number there for sure. Yeah, we had all the security work. Now that actually changed the vibe of the room, or added a touch of uplifting vibe versus big security shirt tie-dye. We got them to do it. And that changed a bit. I don't know if at Broken Bowl it always says welcome on the back of the shirt of the security, not security or staff. And little things, little things like that.
It's a Jedi trick.
Yeah, Jedi stuff is like, here's one that anyone can afford listening or watching. You know, anyone. Yeah. And this is a challenge. The first year I took over Wetlands, like 96, that holiday. For 97, we had Christmas lights behind the bar for the holiday. And then I came in probably in January, a few days after New Year's, and the Christmas lights were down. And it was incredible to see the difference in energy.
Yeah.
The energy that was lost with the Christmas lights gone. You know, all the colors, just that simple hanging Christmas lights lifted the room, the whole energy. We took them down. It was just darker. I was like, we got to put the Christmas lights back. And if you notice at any Brooklyn Bowl, anywhere in my venue, there's always those Christmas lights now at the bar, always. So by the way, anyone, you can go to Walmart or Target or wherever, or online, wherever you want to.
Have them in here.
Like, it's $50 for the whole bar.
Yeah.
$50 for the whole bar. And that will add a dimension, like Oteo's got it. Like, that's how you can do something simple that has a lot of impact. Yeah.
What's up, everybody? This is Mike, and today's show is sponsored by Sunset Lake CBD, a Vermont hemp farm crafting affordable CBD products designed to help with stress and sleep without breaking the bank.
Sunset Lake CBD is a majority employee-owned hemp farm located just outside of one of our favorite places, Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake was a dairy farm producing milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. We had them on the podcast. In 2019, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD.
And Sunset Lake CBD crafts products with hemp grown on their family farm and ships them directly to the customer, cutting out all the cost associated with getting on the shelves at stores. They have CBD products for every occasion and offer tinctures, salves, edibles, coffee, smokables, and even for that anxious dog of yours, they have pet products.
Ooh, I need to get some for my dog that's barking all the time. But I'll tell you this, I use these. The Sour Bears.
So good.
They are CBD gummies. I literally, no joke, I take these every night. They help me sleep. And it's almost bedtime.
Yep. And I still, as said it before, I'll say it again. You go to a long show, you come home, my 42-year-old ankles are not what they used to be. And I rub that salve all over them and put them up, enjoy a nice cocktail, and just let it ooze right into those sore bones. And you know what, folks? All you Comes a Time fans, if you check them out at sunsetlakecbd.com and use promo code TIME, T-I-M-E, you'll get 20% off all products. That's sunsetlakecbd.com. Use promo code TIME, 20% off all products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer-owned, Vermont-grown. Thank you.
Get you some. Some recording studios I know, like people's homes, so they have those Christmas lights or the red pepper, the hot pepper lights. Sometimes they go, but it just adds a thing to it. But I remember talking to Bert Holman, the manager of the Allman Brothers, going back to what you were saying about the size, it being the same for 100,000, 10,000, 50,000. He started. I asked him, "How'd you get started booking the Allman Brothers?" He said, "When I was in college, I think he was at American University in D.C., and there was basically a job for someone to do the music, and he was like, I'll do it." They're like, "All right, you're up," So he's like, "Great, I got this budget. I got a I got a venue. I got all these things. I'm going to bring the Allman Brothers band." And they were cheap back then.
Yep.
Right. So he brought in his favorite. He brought the almonds, and it's the same thing you said. Doing what back then was definitely a much littler show. All the pieces were in place, and so when it came time to manage the Allman Brothers, he's like, "I've been doing this since college."
Yeah, and you just scale. You just move the scale.
Yeah. I mean, he did work for John Scher in between, but it started.
That's right. I was at Northwestern. I did the concert committee. Same thing.
Concert committee. That's it.
Yeah. The cards committee. Anyone I encourage that. College is a great time when you're in school. Let's just say a great time. Some kids will say, "I'm going to quit school. I just want to do this. I want to play." I always say, stay in school and do this on the side. Whatever, whether it's the playing, whether it's you want to produce, promote, or keep your day job.
Right.
Or live at home. I chose after college. I felt, when I took over Wetlands at first, I did these. I was doing an internship to learn, at WNYC, and I did New Line Cinema, and I stayed at home after college. I lived in my old room just because that bought me more time to get to do that kind of stuff and learn. Versus if I was like, I need my own apartment, but then you got to make money. You have to borrow. So everyone has to make the right decision for themselves. But I encourage young people, if you can stay at home for a little while and you're not, at least this is one person's opinion, is do that, right? Because then you don't have to pay the rent. It's just easier for you then to spend some time putting on a concert or becoming a musician or this. Or if you have a day job, keep the day job and do this on the side for as long. It just takes pressure away versus I want to be a musician, but I just quit my job and I'm going on tour and I have to make, So as much
I
as you
went
can
through that
be dual.
myself.
I think that that's such a giant point that I wish. I've been thinking about like notes to a younger me. Remember, Oteil, we were talking about that. Like, just if I could go back and, patience is something that I don't think we were really taught. It was like grow up as fast as possible. Like get out, go do your thing. Like I never really had.
You couldn't tell me anything either.
Exactly.
Right.
So it was just this kind of like hurry up and just get out and start your thing and be your, and keeping the day job and stuff. It's funny, like with stand up, you kind of like hear this thing like, when did you start doing it full time? Which means when did you stop doing a day job and make your night gig, and all of us for the first 8-10 years or whatever, you'd get whatever job you can get, work from home or whatever you want to call it, to give you the freedom to follow your night dream and stuff like that. But it's harder then when you're working, you have to show up and rub last night out of your eyes kind of, and keep this gig so you can feed the night beast a little bit, and that's something that those are the valuable lessons that when it's
hard. Being a human's hard.
Being a human,
back to the neurotic. If you're good at what we all want to try to do, comedy, music, promoting, you're neurotic. That ADD's good. We figured out being neurotic and just waking up. I mean, I still am like. Because right back to like if everything matters, if all the details matter, and back to play, like how if you're off on a note, it matters. Like if the bathroom line's off, it matters. So if all the details matter, which we all agree they do, then it never can be just easy because you got to manage all the. It can get easier, but it never.
And it's so funny to think about the world we come from. That like imperfect is perfect. You know what I mean? Like the Dead never went out to play the same exact perfect every night. Like it was okay that there's mistakes, but
that's
there was
what I was going to say before. It's like our whole culture is like counter to this Dead thing. So like we enjoy our lives. I don't even want to say success or anything because we're like, okay, well, when someone goes, what the hell are you doing? Then that's almost like a signal for us, like, maybe I'm on the right track here. Because it's just like opposite world.
Yeah, I mean, that's the music. That's why we're friends.
Exactly.
We like it similar honestly. Like,
the Island of Misfit Toys, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's what we were all. That's why the Dead, it didn't always work. You've been up there, and when it's not working, and then when it kicks in, you can feel that energy off the crowd when it's working. They kick it back to you, so you feel it, and then you're kicking it back to them. Right? I think I sent you that picture. Where I like being in the back. That night I left the show in '93 at Rosemont Horizon. I think before I went into the parking lot, I walked the arena and went up. I like going to the very top back.
I like that
because you can feel the energy. And I was at Wrigley Field for Deadco and went up and got a nice picture. I think and I've been at shows, and who's amazing at this? Really, you can see the energy of the musicianship come off the guitar into the crowd and back to him. And sometimes I see it is Trey. He leans into the audience. He's at the ledge, and you can see him. He holds sometimes. You see this. He's kicking it out to the crowd, and if you're up high enough. I swear, I believe it. And you see the energy. I can see the circle. Yep. Maybe it helps wherever your headspace is. But you can see the energy coming off of him into the crowd and back to him.
Yes. Yeah. There's no difference.
He's taking it back.
Yeah. That's no difference between him and Professor Dumbledore in Harry Potter. Yeah. I saw it one night when I was tripping really hard at Fenway, second night of Fenway. And I would play and I would lean into it, and I swear, because I thought I was tripping, that I could see it go and do what you're talking about all the way to the back and come back.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. So then I started toying with it, and it happened every time. And I was like, this is crazy. But the first thing that happened was I had my eyes closed and I could feel everybody in the band like I was an octopus and I had a tentacle touching each person. I was like, wow, this is cool. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, something else here, like really huge. Who am I? And I reached out towards in my mind. I reached out to our audience, and I opened my eyes, and I went, "It's them." And this dude looked at me, and he was like, "Yeah," like I swear he knew. And then I went, wow. And the whole thing went like that, and I just looked at my wife like, "This is." I felt
so
like
we're talking
Dumbledore.
about the same thing. Yeah, I'm just talking about being from the audience to see that.
Yes,
different points of view are great.
Back there.
If you're up high of it, you were looking down, you could probably see the energy field come off if you were in the right headspace, linked into you. You could see the energy coming off your bait and then seeing the whoosh. I bet if you're up there, you would see that.
Yeah,
I'm not kidding. I believe that.
100%.
I've seen, and that's. We need that. I think you need that stuff today more than ever because the world's so crazy.
We need magic.
Otherwise, the day to day, you need those moments. By the way, I get tired of doing what I'm doing. Like the daytime part's not that fun, dealing with the problem, but then you go to a show, and it works for me. It's like Colonel Bruce maybe touched me because it works every time. Pretty much going to see live, good. I get re-energized from the show, and then I'm like, it's back to a circle. Like, okay, now I'm ready to go back during the day and deal with the tough part. I can take it again. And I actually have a chapter in the book called 72 Hours or something, and a nod to Dean Budnick, who helped me, write all this. Who wrote it. That live show energy lasts for me about 72 hours where then I can do it again. I'm pushing during it go, but it'll fade off. I'll need it again. I need that fix. I'm like
your spirit addict. Battery needs a charge. Yeah.
Yes. By the way, yes, I do. It lasts, it's amazing after an amazing night. Oteil, like you wake up the next morning, and you have a glow. Yeah. You feel great. But a few days later, you're like back. I need that to get through the hard, long, slogging day.
That's why people go back to church on Sunday because it wears off. You get the music recharge. Yeah. You get, it's like we need that. We need the refreshing. It's just like drinking water. You can't drink water once and you're good for the rest of your life.
Well, that's one of the things that we're so for those of us that go to concerts. For those of us that go to concerts that need that recharge, I think that's what COVID was hard enough, but then to not be able to, that was our community, that was our church, that was our going to the, no matter what it was, like not being able to do that for 2 years is like, what do I do? Like, how do I thank God for the fact that we can like go and listen to live shows or sit 6 feet apart in the backyard for a year and a half. But man, it was just that part was just to not be able to go to a concert. J-Rad at Westville was the first thing I saw after, and I was just crying, man. It was just like everyone was looking at it. It was pouring rain, and it was just like, man, thank God we're able to do this again. Because that was just
I think I may have been at that. I have a good church story because I saw it firsthand just how these venues sometimes, certainly, they've got, certain venues are temples. Churches, temples,
Tipitinas.
So the tips of the world are temples because you can't just have a brand new room or a hotel ball. The difference between a room that's done the 10,000 shows. The air's different in a room. It is. The air is tips. It makes it easier for an Oteil to come in and get to magic. I believe if there's been magic in the room before.
For sure.
Okay, so wetlands. Like we would on a weekend. This is back in the 90s, like have Saturday day would be a ska show. And we'd have 700-800 kids come in with the dress of a ska kid, the white shirts, the black suspenders. And then Saturday night, maybe we'd do a jam, our World Grateful Dead Jam World 2 sets, Mo would play or something, and you'd see people coming in to get to in the same building. On the same day, in the same church, just seeking the same divine magic feeling from their religion. The religion was just slightly different. The pastor was slightly different. Yeah, it was ska on the day, jam at night. Now the next morning, Sunday morning, Agnostic Front, hardcore. Same 800 kids coming in. They just look different, And then that night we'd have the Roots. We did a residency on Sunday nights with the Roots way back in Black Lily with all black women singing, but the Roots were the band. So we'd have 4 shows on Saturday and Sunday in like 36 hours. So you could really see each one of those shows. At the Mo show, the kids all look like, the people, at a Dead show, and that has a look, right? And the hip hop kids, had its own look. But they're all seeking the same thing.
Yep.
And in the same place. Gee, it was amazing. You could see them come in and out. And just the new people showing up would just be dressed the same, look a little the same. I swear, the same uniform. But they were seeking to get to the same place, seeking that spirituality, and it was cool because we definitely were like, this is a temple.
Yeah,
this is a church.
It is, man. It was.
It's funny. Eric, our producer, reminded me right before we did this that it's the anniversary of Clifford Ball today, and Fish's first festival, and I was 16 going to that, and that was a life changer. Wow. Where it was like, I could see. We drive up to the middle of nowhere, and I get out, and there's me and my 4 buddies, so the 5 of us, and I'm
what
like,
is it, 25 years? Is it 25 years?
96,
be, right?
so is it 26 years?
96.
25, 26 years. Yeah, but I'm like looking, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's the Syracuse version of us, or that's the Boston version of it. So there's a whole bunch of us. Like, it's not just us. Like, cause your 4 walls when you're 16, your town, but then you get up here and you're like, this band turned this Air Force Base into like Narnia literally transformed it. And for 3, it was like, I left there. Look, always chasing that spiritual, like you're talking about, Pete, where it's like that. They gave me the realization, like, oh shit, this exists. Like, my happiness is a place where I can go be just blown away by incredible music, by people who give a shit about the details. And that made it just so incredible. Like, from that point on, it was like, all right, now I know what I'm looking for,
Yeah. That's where the intention comes in too. Colonel always talked about intention. Like the intention, Pete, that you care, that you still come to the show with the glasses of a fan on.
Right.
And even if it's not perfect, because your intention is for it to be perfect, people can feel that.
Yep.
So that's why I go to now. I'm like, okay, it cannot be perfect. Let me just have my intention just be full that,
Yeah.
You speak like a great parent, right? It's kind of like, it's beyond music. It's just about how to live your life. That's a really good point. Way you just said that, if your intention is right, and this is, again, so relevant right now when you look at what's going on in the world and what we see. By the way, some of what I've done and the way Fare Thee Well got, I don't know if you could do it today the same way, just because it's the stuff in the world. It was 2015. It was pre-Trump, and the world's different now, I think, and pre-COVID. By the way, you didn't have all the TikTok. It was starting to be internet when we started Brooklyn Bowl in 2009, and like there was just less. You couldn't stay at home and just watch streaming. That didn't exist.
No.
There was
Clifford
no
Ball,
TikTok,
no cell phones.
And I went for a day of Clifford Ball. By the way, credit to those guys, because we talked about like taking good energy and doing it 100 people, 1,050. They skipped the line and went to so big.
They did it.
We're holding it. It's risky. They did it. And you're right. But if you keep your intention positive in whatever you do, that's the most important thing. And then there's a great quote from Gary Player, a famous legendary golf player. He goes, it's funny, the more I practice, the luckier I seem to get.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So it's kind of similar to like, try to be a good person and just do the right thing and hold, and eventually, hopefully, if you pay it forward enough, you might get a shot at Dead. But you have to try. Like, I tried for Dead 40. I didn't get it. But I came back, and I say something that's in the book, a lot of no's can be good. You know, to get to a yes, you sometimes need no's first.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't know why, but sometimes when a closed door, we should just accept it. Like you say, you wanted to do Grateful Dead 40.
Yeah.
But something took, it's like a plant. It doesn't, you can't force it to sprout. And it took those 10 years, and maybe you can look back and say, thank God. Because Grateful Dead 50, dude, rainbow and all, that was just, you sewed that thing up with a bow. It was like, what?
Yeah.
It's just.
Thank God. I'm lucky because I knew going into Dead 50, it's kind of like Fish going in for Clifford Ball. You just, the scale's so big. Another thing I've learned is like, what's scary about these things is you only get one shot, right? If something had gone wrong at Clifford Ball or Dead 50, like once the weekend's over, like you can't go back and fix it. Yeah. You know, someone's memory is, and that's one nice thing, like after a great show, the nice feeling, even the night of, like when people go home, and I just hope everyone goes home safe, it's like that's in the books. Like people will always remember that night as being incredible, special. Nothing can change it.
Like you remembered that night that got you.
Yeah. That and nights we've done, let's say, an O'Teal and Friends show at the Cat. It's like that magic show. Like people, that you can't change it. So by going into Dead 50, it's like if something had gone wrong, you know, there was a storm that came on July 6th, that Monday after the 3-day weekend at Soldier Field in Chicago. There was lightning and rain. And I remember talking to Mountain Girl, and she said, yeah, that's Jerry's crying, tears of joy. And which was intense to hear from him. But
wow.
I also knew if that rain from Monday had been just the night before, the last night. And you've been there, O'Teal, like, and you guys know when there's lightning or this, and you have to pause the show or leave, you've had that happen. Like, that would have been a different experience for people, right? If they're even the rainbow, of course, but even just the weather, I believe in Chicago, I'm not kidding. Weather, that is a big difference, because if you have perfect weather, which we had, you know, everything goes right a lot of them, because those details, waiting online a little or going through security or waiting for people. But if it's 75 degrees, no humidity, you're happy waiting online, no problem.
Hell yeah.
The loading guys, the union, the stage-hands, they're all in a good mood. You know, AJ's
Everyone's
in a good mood. O'Teal, like, you know, that's a good one, right? You just go on the AJ barometer. But if it's 100 degrees humid or raining, you know, the grumpy things get delayed. It gets harder. Everything gets harder.
It's like dominoes.
Yeah.
Well,
you know
I'm
what else?
so thankful I really think of it. Like, I believe the weather made a difference.
Soldier Field, that's that huge venue. It somehow had a feeling of a smaller.
I got to show you. We have to interrupt one thing. Oh no, put the helmet. You can show him. Come on, go get that helmet back on. This makes a good goalie. Watch this. This kid, 12 years old, back from camp. Put it on. Show him what you're doing to go. He's going to play some goalie in the house.
Wow.
We got a goalie.
Nice, man.
Yeah. Go lower. Show him your design.
Right on.
Look at that design.
Killer. That's awesome, man.
I like it.
Walking into Soldier Field for Dead 50 too, and it was like about the small details and the stuff that was so neat about it. Like when you walked right in and you got to the landing, there were those massive picture of Jerry surrounded by roses, and it became this thing where everybody kind of met and took pictures in front of, and we were running into people that we didn't even know were there because of it. So it kind of became this sort of like meeting point or like a beacon or something. We were like, oh damn, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, it didn't have to be there, but it was like such a perfect detail that it just
you got it set. We've talked about this magic stuff, and that's why that quote, you have to set it up right for magic to increase the chances for magic to happen.
Yeah.
You know, there's no rainbow if you're not in Santa Clara doing the show. Like, and when you do it, you need to try to do as much as you can control. You can't control everything. Yeah. And if you can't control something that goes wrong, you got to fix it. Back to that. But you want to increase, like we gave a rose to everyone who walked in. Like we put security guys in the tie-dyed shirts, you know. You do the Christmas lights behind the bar to elevate the energy, you know. Yeah. And you just try to put as much in place. You know, you need to do the giant frame Jerry with rose and spend the money, by the way. To do things better costs more.
Sure.
Right, O'Teal knows about that. Like, you're playing gigs, you want an extra sound mix or lighting, or to bring your lighting guy costs more, your sounding guy, then you got to fly him in, versus we can use the house guy, or let's add horns. That's more, it's so what's ironic about business and stuff, it's harder when you're small and you're alone. Yeah. Versus now, maybe I have Nashville venue or Vegas. We could say to somebody who want to play there too, it gets easier, not easy. And to do it better, you usually cost more.
Yeah.
And sometimes what's good for me is I always do, by the way. That's me because I'm a fan. I always want it to be better, and I'll choose as much as I can. I'll spend more and make less because it just feels to me like that's the right way to do it, and hopefully paying it'll come back around later. And but it's hard because
it's maddening for your accountant, isn't it? Like,
they don't like
really?
No, yeah. It's to take off, to not do the huge frame of cherry, to not spend extra on the tie-dye shirts for the security guys.
The roses,
and
hearing
that's cost less.
Well, and hearing you now talk, like that's probably the one thing that you would leave thinking about. You would see what wasn't there. Like you'd walk away going, it was awesome, but we should have did that Jerry picture, or we should have did the roses, or we should have did the tie-dye shirts, and like that's where that positive neuroticism or whatever maybe comes into play.
Yeah,
like,
I don't watch a lot of TV. I mean, because like these series to jump into takes your brain space, for me at least, to watch. Like, to me, enjoy that. I like going to the movie theater and like popcorn and like because if I'm at home, my brain's going. I wrote this in my Netflix is like in my head when I get home, because during the day I'm like dealing with shit, and then I need to dream, my time to like figure things out. I need to like lie in my bed and look at the ceiling, but I can't be watching The Crown or some TV show, because I could be, but my brain started back to the ADD, so I like sitting back and relaxing, but I'm still dreaming a lot, and because I need to think through, or dreaming, or like figuring out, like, should we do this or should we do that? And if we do that, and there's so much to figure out, doing so many shows every day.
Well, don't stop, please.
I'm glad.
Cancel your Netflix now. We need more bowls.
It's so
I
great.
believe that. Yeah, there's that you need. Hopefully, people can spend more time in their own head.
I
don't watch Netflix for the same reason. Like me and my wife, before we had kids, we had series and we'd binge watch even sometimes. And now I'm like, I don't have the space in my brain to get engaged. It's all going to the kids and the multiple things happening.
That's where music's for
career-wise.
too. Yeah.
And the damn country. It's like, oh my God. I'm just trying to like get my love light like ramped up brighter and brighter. It takes all I've got. I don't have time to watch Handmaid's Tale. I can watch it happen live.
Right. I think the Colonel would give you the same advice.
Oh, absolutely. And we don't want to keep you too long, but thank you for being with us and taking an hour out of your time. But
this is amazing.
But everything the Colonel was trying to teach me about music, I realized he was trying to teach me about life. He was using music as a metaphor to get me to figure. And now that I'm older, I see it all, and I'm like, oh, and it's great because it does come down to that. It's about life. Music is magic, but we're magic. This guitar doesn't do anything by itself.
Right. Yeah.
It's all our intention. So I'm glad we have him in common. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a bond.
Just his story is incredible, and the ending is, it's
unbelievable.
It. We do share like his ending, my beginning, being in a dead, but I know it's true. No one else could know like I know that if I hadn't had that moment at that show at Rosemont Horizon 30 years ago, I don't think I'm here talking to you guys. For sure, I don't. I don't
think I would have got the Dead and Company gig or the Allman Brothers gig. Honestly, I mean, the train door.
Yeah, sliding. Yeah, which is by the way, it's a great way to live life, because once you're on, also you make the train door, then you look for the net. You just try to make the best decisions and lean in when you feel like it's the right move. Lean back if you think that's the right move, and just do your best to ride it. You know, everyone's life has a bit of that jam, and that is like jazz. And figuring out what the music does on stage, you can live your life that way. I do see myself maneuvering through, different types of songs and different moments in songs and different tempos, and sometimes it slows down, sometimes it goes faster, and when to go to the next song and when to stay in the song and jam longer. I guess I really do try to do it that way.
I hope our society can embrace that more, because I feel like it doesn't teach us to improvise. It doesn't teach us, it teaches us to do this and get to here and everything. That way you can be in control. And it's like, we're never really in control. Maybe we should teach our kids to improvise, teach our kids to set their intention, and then just, I don't know. So you've obviously had a huge effect on people to encourage them to do that and keep that philosophy, that way of living alive. So thank you for that. And thank you for being, I always say, oh man, I missed everything when I look back at the 60s. I didn't see Dwayne. I didn't see all this stuff. And I wish I could have met Bill Graham. And it's like, you know what? You're my Bill Graham. Bill Graham is Bill and Bobby's Bill Graham. I mean, he's the world's Bill Graham, and you're the world's Peter Shapiro. But for me, that's like, I don't feel like I missed out. It's like, wow.
Thank you. Wow.
This story happened. I was a part of it and didn't even really realize it now till I look back on it. Reading your book is such a trip. So thank you, man, for believing in us back then. Because, man, without Wetlands, I don't know where ARU.
I have a photo. So we've been doing things 25 years together.
Yeah.
And I'm so by the way, thank you. Those words make me want to keep going, so thank you, and it's, we're very fortunate to get to do this together. Yeah. And I'm so glad I get, to meet you, your brother, your kid, the whole, that makes this all, this is why we do it. What you just said. Thank you. And the moments and and I'm glad you guys are doing this stuff. I'm glad I wrote these stories. It was awkward for me to do the book, but Dean Budnick's, credit to him. He said, have you ever written anything down? Like the stuff we're talking about? And I was like, no. And he really, I didn't want to pass up, right? It's back to sliding note. Like I got a guy who's like the best guy at writing this stuff, and he's been in half the stuff and he knows it all. And I to pass that up. And also doing it while I still remember it. I'm not kidding.
Yes.
I can barely remember it now. If I had waited 20, 30 years, I'm not kidding. I was hesitant to do this. And it's not my life. It's just the story of 50 shows. But if I had waited, I definitely wouldn't have remembered a lot of this stuff. And
you've packed a ton of life into those years, man,
Well, I know sometimes I'm I'm tired, but then you hear Oteil say that. And I'm like, let's go book some shows.
Well, let me end with showing people this. I'll send it to Eric. But this picture right here, it's you, me, and Derek Trucks and Eric Krasno at the Wetlands. And boy, do we all look young.
Yeah,
Holy
that's 25 years ago.
Dude. And to think, when I opened that, of course, I started the thing and then I went to the pictures, I looked in here and I was like, wow, the time flew by. So
nice.
Yeah. Thank you, man. What a great, I'm glad I lived long enough to have this day.
We were, for two guys who've been doing that for a long time, the rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
We, there's a call, right? There's that magic, right when I say, oh, we're looking okay. The colonel says, ooh, I'm going to take your picture out. But I know, actually, I've learned you get too up. Like people say about the dead, like the moment you get too up, that's when you know you'll get hit by light cross in the street. So I try not to, but I am glad, the health, whatever. We just keep going. Yeah. We can't think about it too much.
That's right.
I'm psyched to be doing this with you guys, and Mike, thanks for doing this with Oteil.
Of course, it's an honor.
And having me on, and I want to go book some shows now.
Absolutely, do it. Go forth.
Thank you soon, for being man, on and thank you for brother. Yeah, thank you for everything that you do for us.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you at the show soon.
Okay, later.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
Peace out.